virtual national annual leadership education forum, OLIF conference on Sunday, February 28th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. The OLIF conference will transport attendees to all the campuses of Hebrew University for a day of learning, insight, and education. There are certain things that, as we've all learned, the pandemic and Zoom has helped us. So this will be a way to bring it all close to home. A portal to tomorrow, bringing the Hebrew University of Jerusalem to you, brings together researchers and academics from HU to discuss their works in the fields ranging from health, agriculture, and nanotechnology to the humanities, environment, and life sciences. Keep an eye out for registration in your inbox soon. And now, let's celebrate and have some fun. I'd like to introduce Renee Jacobs-Anson. Renee is a longtime member of our national AFHU board and our Western Region board. She's also an amazing co-chair of our signature Bel Air Affair, which is usually held every September and which we did virtually this year. I also want to congratulate Renee and her team for, we actually accomplished our goal this past week of surpassing the $500,000 target for scholarships. So I just want to take a minute and recognize Renee, Helen Jacobs-Lepore, and Joyce Brandman, who chaired the event. So just thank you very much. Renee is a dedicated and wonderful supporter of HU, and we're so delighted that she's joining us tonight and will lead us as we light the menorah. I'll turn it over to Renee now.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay. This is my husband, David, and if you have your menorahs, please join us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher zanisim lavoteinu, bayamim ha'em And because we're all together for the first time, even though it's not the first night of Hanukkah, it is the first night we're together. So let's all say the Shechachiyanu together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechachiyanu v'kiyamanu, v'hiyanu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive and sustained us and brought us to this beautiful season. All right, and now I would like to introduce Barbara Lazaroff. I, along with my Bel Air Affair co-chairs Helen Jacobs-Lepore and Joyce Brandman, have had the joy of working with Barbara for many years on the Bel Air Affair. She's a longtime AFHU supporter and a very dear friend. Barbara?
Thank you. Thank you, Renee. That was truly beautiful. I can't sing, but I've lit my candles as well. And happy Hanukkah to all of you. It's been a privilege working with you and Helen for many years as a committee member for the Bel Air Affair. The AFHU does such meaningful work. Thank you. Tonight, I am delighted and so proud to introduce you to a very special guest. This young man began helping out part-time at our restaurant Spago at the tender age of 12. His interest in all aspects of the hospitality industry continued to expand, and he went on to attend Cornell University's prestigious hospitality program, with a concentration in food and beverage, services, marketing, and management. He has enjoyed many exciting experiences staging in some of the finest kitchens in both the US and around the world. These past years, he's been a tremendous asset at Spago and now moves on as the general manager of Miroir and Ospirio, two new concepts slated to open in early 2021 at the Pendry in Los Angeles. He has always had such a personal and artful perspective on life and cuisine. I know you will thoroughly enjoy his unique interpretation of the traditional latke. I am so proud to introduce you to someone I've known his entire life, my second son, Byron Lazaroff Puck. Byron, Shamam, I love you. Enjoy.
I love it. Oh, I see Helen clapping up there. I appreciate it. I can't hear anything, but much love. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It's such a pleasure for myself to be here. I really, really appreciate it. And there's honestly no better food in the world than Jewish cuisine. And that's what I'm so happy to cook for you guys tonight. We're going to have an absolute blast. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to say right off the bat here that I don't have too much time with you guys, but I know we're recording this entire thing. So if you ever have any questions, we're going to send out the recipes to everyone for both of the dishes I'll make for you tonight. So you can follow along. You can also come back and look at this video. And if you need any helps with some of the steps, I'll be here to guide you as much as possible. That being said, I'm kind of just talking to myself in here. I'm in the Wolfgang Puck test kitchen. I got studio lights blaring at me, and I'm all alone. So if anyone wants to type anything into the Zoom chat, I will try to answer questions as I go along and be as attentive as possible so we can conversate a little bit more as well. But let's start it off. I got about 30 minutes here, so we're going to mad dash a little bit. So first things first, I wanted to do a bit of a modern interpretation of a latke. So latkes growing up were my absolute favorite thing. I would ask my grandmother, my mother to make it for me year round, because around the first Hanukkah I can remember, my grandma made, and I think everyone's going to say this about their grandma, to be fair, but my grandma made the best latkes. So with that being said, I was asking for these year round. I absolutely fell in love with it. You know, when I was a kid, it was just plain applesauce. I hated sour cream or creme fraiche. Now my taste buds have become more amenable to different things, so I've started enjoying it with both. So we're going to be using all of those wonderful flavors: the russet potatoes, creme fraiche, applesauce, and then I've got a little twist on it for you. I'm going to go slightly Italian this evening, and we're going to do a latke cannoli. So first things first, what I have set up in front of me here is a chiva slicer. And I know you may not have this at home, so don't worry. I've put in the recipe the exact way to do it with just a knife or a mandolin, whatever you might have at home. But we're going to start off by getting very, very thin slices of a russet potato, just as so. So I absolutely love this tool. Thankfully, I have at my beck and call here everything in the Wolfgang Puck test kitchen. So this is a wonderful piece of machinery. It's going to allow me to get really, really thin strips of this potato, just as so, and kind of stretch it out into like ribbons almost. And this is going to allow me to, here you go, here's a better way to see it. There it is. So this is a wonderful machine. You know, as a chef, we love things that make our jobs that much easier. And this is exactly one of them. So let me get this out of the way here so we can see a little bit more clearly. We're going to start off by cutting our latke cannolis into the exact shape that we want. So there we go. You can see that, I hope. So first we're going to start off by just cutting it down into an even square. And you're going to want to go about 3.5 inches even square on this. So it's going to look just as so. If you want, you can go a little bit more rustic and leave the skin on the top here, just as I did. The other way to do it, you know, is make it perfectly clean, squared off edges, just as so. It's going to turn out looking beautifully. So our next step here is we are going to just pat it dry a little bit. So once you cut the potatoes down like this, they start secreting a lot of water after a while. You can also soak these in a little bit of water, and you're actually going to get a really nice fry out of it by extracting some of that starch as well. So first things first, I'm just gonna pat this a little bit dry, get some of the water out there, because if I just put this straight in the fryer, I'm a little nervous it might explode in my face, and I don't want anything bad to happen on this Zoom here. So next step is we're gonna prepare 1 egg just as so. You can just scramble it just as this into a little bowl here. And it's just a simple egg wash. All we're doing with it is using it as an adhesive, if anything. If you want a really, really crispy potato shell on this as well, you can grab some cornstarch, potato starch, rice flour, whatever you might have in your kitchen, and douse the outside of your potato as well. And that's gonna give it a really, really beautiful crispy texture when you're done with it. So I'm just gonna be simple about it here. And I'm going to dip my finger just in the egg wash, and I'm gonna run it across just one edge of that potato strip. And then I'm gonna start just simply folding it over, just as such. So we get a lovely, beautiful cylinder, just like this. And this is what we're going to use to actually house the rest of our ingredients. So there's 2 ways in which you can do this. I have a couple more tools at my disposal here, as I said. So I'm actually housing it in this metal tube. If you have a sink, a toilet, you can always just pull off the piping on that or something if you want. I don't really recommend that. Maybe throw it in the dishwasher first. The other way you can do it though is actually, I'm gonna take this out of here really quickly. The other way you can do it is just get a pair of tongs, tweezers, just as such, and throw it right here in the fryer. So I already have oil going over here. It's very hot. In order to get a beautiful shape, I am gonna thread it back into here, to my little tube. And we're just gonna drop it in the fryer here. And you're usually gonna wanna let this go for about 4 to 5 minutes. And once it's completed its shape on the inside, you're able to just really knock it right out of that cylinder, and it's going to brown on the outside, because keeping it encased like that is not gonna allow that to get that really brown color out of it, essentially. But that being said, with the magic of television, Zoom, whatever you wanna call it, I started frying something when we started this Zoom. So I'll show you just as such here. I have 1 more cylinder already going. Just gotta fish it out. Beautiful. So it comes out just that easily, in all honesty. So I don't know if you saw that, but my cannoli already fell out of the base here. That is very hot, so I'm gonna get that out of my way. And boom, here we go. So this is how my cannoli ends up coming out. You can see straight through it just as so. It's got that lovely golden brown hue to it, which is exactly what we're looking for. And we're just gonna let this dry for a second, right on a towel. And I'm gonna get the rest of my ingredients ready here. So the 2 things, as I said when I started this, first off was the lovely creme fraiche, as well as applesauce. So personally, when I make my applesauce, I like to go a little bit differently with it. I like to add some winter spices to it. Oh, I didn't even need to open the fridge. Look at that. I got them right here. Beautiful. So I like to go a little bit more winter spices with it. So I choose to put in a bit of nutmeg, about a teaspoon of nutmeg. If we're doing 8 apples, you're gonna wanna do about a cup of water if you're doing this in a normal sauce pot or a saute pan. If you're using a pressure cooker, which if you have, I highly recommend, you can do the whole process in about 5 minutes. You're only gonna wanna use about a quarter of a cup of water for that. And then that's going to be 8 apples. You're going to use about 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, as I said, 1 teaspoon of cardamom. I'm a huge cardamom fan myself. And then you're gonna use about a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then with the outside of that lemon, you're gonna peel off the rind of that lemon and use the rind for 1 whole lemon and throw it in the pressure cooker or your stock pot or saute pan along with everything else. And then you're gonna wanna do about a few tablespoons of sugar and just a pinch of salt, and that'll tie it really all together. So that's what I have right here is my beautiful applesauce. I made it earlier today because it's gonna take about like 15 minutes to really cook it all the way. So I put it in a piping bag because this is the easiest way to do it, at least for me. But if you wanna use a spoon, more than welcome to. It'll feed into your cannoli all the same. So I'm just gonna cut off the tip of my applesauce here, and I'm going to put this directly into the center of my cannoli. the applesauce is going to be a bit more watery than our creme fraiche. So I'm just going to fill the center of that just as so. And then the next step is creme fraiche. And I put a little piping tip on this so I could get a little pastry feel out of it. So as I said, I am in the Wolfgang Puck Test Kitchen, and one of my favorite things in my personal experience, at least, was being able to work not only in pastry, but savory as well. So one of my favorite things became utilizing pastry techniques or the vision of pastry, what something might look like as a dessert, and incorporating that into savory dishes. So I took creme fraiche here, and we're just going to lightly pipe this onto the edges, just as so. And this is going to be much thicker than the applesauce. So it's actually just going to encase everything right in the center. So as you can see there, I have that little ripple from all of the creme fraiche. All right, I'm gonna set this down, make sure you guys can see it. Beautiful. And then if you have it, it's all good. But if you don't, it's all good as well. You can go, I love caviar. Not gonna lie about it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So I picked up a little before I got here. Not black caviar. I don't have that type of money right now. We're in a pandemic. So I got some beautiful salmon roe, and I'm going to use that to top off our latke cannoli here, just as so. Give it a little bit more depth. You know, I often love, if I have it, like smoked salmon on my latkes with a little bit of creme fraiche is one of the most amazing, amazing combinations you can really get. So that's kind of why I went after the salmon roe, in all honesty. So last step here is going to be getting where did my chives go? They're right here. Perfect. So last step, you know, latkes often contain a touch of scallion, white onion, whatever it might be when you actually make the latke. I kind of wanted to keep that same themology going for this, so I ended up using chives instead. If you really want to, you can actually cut up some scallion or some shallot really, really fine and put it in that creme fraiche mix as well, and it goes absolutely lovely with the whole dish. But I'm just gonna garnish mine here with a touch of chive. So we're just gonna cut these very, very thin. And I actually have a funny story about chives. When I was first learning to cook, I was about 15 years old, and I left home for London. And when I was working in London, I worked for Nobu Matsuhisa. And I will never forget this. I actually wrote a college essay about it because it was like such a painful experience for me. But I started there. They wanted to test how good I was. And the first thing was cutting chives. And in a sushi restaurant, you need to cut chives absolutely razor thin. For the first 4 days I was there, the chef would come by and test to see how good my chives were looking. And I would have these huge pile of chives going on my cutting board. He would look by, put one hand through it, and just toss the whole thing in the trash day after day after day, until about day 5, he finally swiped his hand through my chives, and he was finally like, okay, you're good. Go work the grill station. And it was like a promotion for a 15-year-old. I was so proud of myself. But Lord knows those first 15 days, or 5 days, excuse me, were incredibly rough. So that being said, this is going to be our final product. You can see a little bit of salmon roe up top there, our beautiful creme fraiche, the applesauce, and the chive to garnish. And then I did earlier, because sometimes I like to be prepared. My mom, on the other hand, would say I'm a huge procrastinator, which is very fair. But today I prepared a little bit better. So if you want to serve it out to your friends, you can go just as so. It's a beautiful, beautiful appetizer, really, really simple. It's not the most simple, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a different play, something for Hanukkah that you can all enjoy together and look like almost like little like latke cigars now that I'm looking at it right now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer anything you guys might have. You know, I'm not doing anything else. So if it's personal, if it's food related, whatever it is, shoot, please feel free. All right. So I'm skipping over entrees for tonight, and I'm going to go straight into the sweets for the next portion of this. I'm an absolute sweet hound, to be honest with you. So you give me chocolate, you give me anything, I'm gonna eat that first. Like, I will take dessert for an appetizer, in all honesty. But today we're gonna make my personal favorite Jewish dessert, which is rugelach. So we're gonna start right off on that. And I'm just going to explain this first step. It's quite simple, but we need cream cheese. We're going to need butter. So I have a pound of cream cheese right here. You're going to need a pound of butter as well. And then this is going to look a little funny, but I put a bunch of flour in a Ziploc bag, so don't judge me too much. But this is a pound of flour here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of that flour first and foremost into a stand mixer. If you have a mixer, you're going to be wanting to use the paddle attachment for that as well. It just looks like, you know, on like a flat paddle. I don't know how else to describe a paddle as a paddle, but I hope that makes sense to you. If not, I'll text you a picture, give you my phone number, just let me know. And then, oh my God, thank you, Sandra. Much love, I appreciate that comment. Going forward, you're going to use next your butter. You're gonna chunk this up into little cubes, and then you're just going to add this slowly and slowly as you've started your mixer. You're gonna add butter in very, very slowly, and then you're going to incorporate as well all of your cream cheese into that mixture. Oftentimes I've found, you know, people can be a little bit, you know, it's really up to you, in all honesty, what you want to do. But me, I like to use a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. Sometimes you get rugelach that might be a little bit too floury, it's chunky, so it just kind of shatters when you bite into it. Other times it's got a gooiness factor, but it might be a little bit too cream cheesy or something like that if you've added in too much cream cheese. Personally, I think the absolute best ratio is just 1-to-1-to-1. Just keep it super, super simple like that. So after your dough has been in the mixer, I have it right here, but you're gonna wait until that butter and that flour starts incorporating better into itself, and it's gonna come and show itself as like almost little pea-sized shapes within the mixer. Once you're up to that point, you're basically ready to incorporate that cream cheese. And then once that's all solidified, you can take it out of the mixer and you're gonna start molding it by hand like I'm about to do here. So if you've ever made bread, if you've ever made pasta, and you're gonna work to incorporate it, you're gonna do it just as so by taking it, you know, folding this back just as so. I'll do it by the side so it makes a little bit more sense. And then, oh my God, I have a question from Kate. Do you put all the cream cheese in at once? I can't see the whole question, but it's better to incorporate it slowly over time is how I would do it. Does that answer your question, Kate? I hope so. So you're just going to knead your dough a little bit more like this. Make sure you have some flour on your cutting board. Mine is sticking a little bit because I did not put any flour on my cutting board right now. So make sure you got some flour down there, and you're going to incorporate it, and your dough is going to eventually come out to this nice white color, just as so. It's going to look a little bit, it's going to have a bit of a cream color to it, but it's going to actually remain white like this until you saran wrap it. So if you've ever made pasta dough, it's very similar to this. You're going to saran wrap it. You're going to hold it in the fridge overnight. I definitely recommend that. You know, you don't have to do that step, but it actually gives a much better consistency to your dough. If you hold it overnight like that, everything is much better to be incorporated together once you do that. So the next step after this is rolling out this dough into a thin sheet. And you're gonna want to do maybe about, I would say, 3 millimeters in thickness. And again, by the magic of television, I did this already. Dean Burke, do you need to work fast so the dough doesn't dry out? You know, the dough should be pretty, I'm pretty sure what the question said. It kind of cuts off at the end, but you don't need to be super, super intense about it. You don't need to be overworking it by any means. Sometimes you can find yourself like that with pasta dough, for instance. It starts to dry out very easily. But with this, you don't need to worry about it too much. Your consistency of your dough with that 1-to-1-to-1 ratio should actually be pretty butter heavy at that point, so it won't dry out too easily. You don't need to work overly quick just at that same speed that I was kneading it is really all you need. So this is what you're left over, is a round such as so. You can cut your dough with using anything. You can take a bowl, flip it over, put it on the dough after you've rolled it out, and just take a knife and cut right around it. So we're gonna cut this down just like a little pizza, essentially. So I'm gonna take my knife here, I'm gonna slice it in half, just to start. And then we're just gonna cut this into about the back. We're gonna cut it into triangles, essentially. In the back of each triangle, I would recommend having it about 1.5 to 2 inches. So if I cut my first triangle, just to show you, it should look just as so for everyone. Let's see if I can, there we go. So that's about 2 inches. And I'm going to make quite a few of these because I've made 2 different types of fillings to show you guys here today. Beautiful. All right. So I like 2 different types of arugula personally. My favorite is actually a nut-based one. So I already chopped up here some beautiful roasted walnuts. So I just took the walnuts out of their shells. I put them in the oven really quickly at around 350, lightly toasted them for a little while, took them out, put them on my cutting board, and just used a knife and chopped them up very fine, just as so. And so I'm going to do this with some beautiful chocolate. You can pick up whatever type of chocolate you like. If you're a milk chocolate person, dark chocolate person, even white chocolate, it's not really chocolate, but if you like it, go for it, you know? It's all subjective. It's up to you at the end of the day. So I love 70% or above cacao dark chocolate. That's my favorite. So I bought some of that from Valrhona, which has amazing chocolate. And I just chopped that up the same way, just as so. And so this is how we're going to make our arugula here. I'm gonna make sure we can all see. When you're using just chunks and not an actual spread, you can just lay them, sprinkle them down pretty evenly on top of those pizza slices of dough, and then the chocolate right afterwards. But when you have these chunks, in order to make sure you get it perfect once it starts cooking, is you're actually gonna wanna take your hand and press all of this nicely into the dough to make sure it all sticks and is well incorporated in there, and you're gonna actually get a much more well-rounded arugula out of it. So you're going to start from the back, the long side of the triangle, bigger side of the triangle, and you're gonna roll up forward like you're making a croissant, just as so. So that's what it should look like right when you're done with it. And then I have one more filling here for you guys. So this is my cinnamon brown sugar filling. So I took a bunch of ground up cinnamon here and a bunch of brown sugar, just mixed it together. Again, very even 1-to-1 ratio, essentially. So I just mixed these 2 together. And this, you know, is very classic. It's a very easy one to pull off, honestly. And I think it's honestly the crowd pleaser as well. If anyone's got a nut allergy or whatever it might be, I think this is the easiest one to really go for and the easiest one to make as well. So you're just going to lightly sprinkle, you know, a good layer of this over that pizza slice that you had earlier. Perfect. And then we're just going to do the same thing, folding from the back of the arugula up to the front. And at this point, so per Dean's question earlier, actually, at this point, when your dough is fully rolled out like this, you are going to want to work a little bit quicker because your dough is going to dry out much, much more at this point after it's spent the day in the fridge and after you've been working it by hand for quite a while. So this is my other one right here. Looks like a lovely croissant. Who knew the Jews were so French? So we're gonna put these guys in the oven right now. And you know what? I might as well. I got a couple more here. So I might as well make a couple more. Let's go a little quicker here. We can be fun. You know, they're actually filming the Home Shopping Network after in this. So I'm going to try my hardest to make as big of a mess as possible for everyone else, just to be that guy. All right. Beautiful. All right, we're gonna roll these up super quick. And if anyone's got any questions while I'm going through this, I know I kind of blew through it a little bit, but please feel free to ask. And I'm more than happy to answer, but you will be getting your recipes tomorrow, so nobody fear. All right. So this is all my arugula. I'm gonna set it all on a baking sheet. Make sure you have that baking sheet lined with a little bit of baking spray, parchment paper, whatever you want to use. Make sure your arugula doesn't stick. And the last tip here is going to be making sure that when you put them all on your baking sheet, you actually do that front tip side down flat on the base of the baking sheet. So that top little corner that meets at the top of the croissant, you're going to want to do that face down onto the sheet. So I already preheated my oven. I'm going to throw it down right in here. Beautiful. And then if you want to pick it up, the last thing to use is this is wonderful crystallized sugar. So I hope you can kind of see its shine on the camera there, but it's beautiful. It's a wonderful garnish. The other thing that I highly recommend for topping off arugula is fruit. For both the cinnamon sugar one and the chocolate walnut one, I would highly recommend doing fruit for either of them, maybe like a cranberry, strawberry, cherry compote, something along those lines, which is super easy. All you're going to do is you're just going to put a bunch of cherries, let's say, in a pot with a bunch of sugar, a touch of water, and you're just going to boil that down until you get a beautiful compote out of it, and just garnish the your arugula very lightly with that. So last but not least here, I think I'm pretty good on time. Allison, how am I? I'm okay? I'm good?
You're good. Yes, you're good.
Love it. Love it. I feel like I've been speed talking now for like 30 minutes. All right, here. So in order to get these really brown and really lovely, you can also throw some beautiful clarified butter on the top of these. So again, I made arugula earlier today. So these are my lovely ones here. Woo, so hot. We're gonna let this sit for a second. Brought some tweezers with me, so it's gonna help. Beautiful. So these I made earlier. These are going to be my chocolate and walnut ones that I made. So did a little clarified butter and on the top, and that gets them really, really beautifully golden brown, just like this. And then you're just gonna garnish it with a touch of this crystallized sugar here. And you're gonna end up with some lovely, lovely arugula. Beautiful. All right, well, I hope everyone enjoyed everything. It's really hot in my hand right now, but delicious. I'm working through it. Give me 1 second. So thank you, Marilyn. Again, thank you to everyone for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope we got the chance to learn a little bit more about Jewish cuisine and how we can do it up a little bit. At the end of the day, I am a traditionalist. Don't get me wrong. You'll never go wrong with like a slow-braised short rib on Hanukkah or some latkes. But that being said, I love to make things a little bit different. I love to try and make new interpretations of old classics. So that's kind of what I tried to do a little bit of today, was show you a little bit of tradition with the arugula, and then show you a little bit of innovation on the latke cannoli side. So again, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. You'll be getting the recipes soon. So if you need anything, Allison and everyone has my information. You got any extra questions, let me know. I'm always here. I'm always at your disposal. It is a pandemic. I got nothing better to do. So feel free to reach out and ask your questions.
Byron, Grandma Lazaroff would have been so proud of you. Grandma Lazaroff's watching, and from heaven, and she would have been so proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Mom.
It was
And-
wonderful, Byron. Thank you so much. It was absolutely delightful and a real joy for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry. Ron, my
Thanks,
namesake there.
Thanks, Byron, and I know you go by Ron too.
Exactly.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the interpretations. My mouth is watering. But now we're going to move from food to music, and it's my honor to introduce the next speaker, who is also a singer. He's somebody that our family has known for over 40 years. We first met him when he was a doctoral student at UCLA. And then he went back to Israel, and he was one of the earliest executive directors for the Sephardic Educational Center in Jerusalem, which my dad founded, and our family remains very active in. I've been chairman, and we have own 3 beautiful, very historic sites in the Jewish quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. And so our next speaker is now a professor at the Hebrew University, Professor Edwin Sarusi. He's the Emmanuel Alexander Professor of Musicology and the director of the Jewish Music Research Center at the Hebrew University. He's a pioneer, particularly he collects Jewish music from all over the world. In fact, he visited us in my mother's house last year in 2019, before the pandemic, shared some of his research with us. I mean, his amazing historical roots for a lot of the music. In any case, he also received probably the highest prize in Israel, the Israel Prize in 2018 in the music category. And he and his wife, Cantor Marlena Firstman, are going to bring us in their home. It's a recorded presentation because it's the middle of the night in Israel. And he has some Hanukkah greetings and Hanukkah songs for us. So it's our pleasure, our family, to support the Hebrew University and to introduce Professor Sarusi.
Thank you, Ron, for this kind presentation. And being very honored by being introduced by you. I still have fond memories of your late father, Dr. John Nissim, who recruited me to work with him in the establishment of the Sephardic Educational Center back in the late 80s. I also use this opportunity to greet all your family, particularly your mother, Frida, who has been an inspirational figure for me, a mother when I was a student in LA. Thank you very much. My dear friends at the Western region of the American Friends of the Hebrew University, I am extremely glad to be able to join you together with my wife, Cantor Marlena Firstman, on your virtual Hanukkah celebration for this very special and unique year. Here, from our home in Jerusalem, we are delighted to join together to celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. It was such a pleasure to meet some of you back in 2018 when we had dinner together, Shabbat dinner together, and with the wonderful mission led by Patty Glasser here in Israel. That night we sang together, and tonight we will sing together, though a little bit from the distance. We will just start by lighting our first candle for this Hanukkah of the year 5781.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avoteinu bayamim hahem b'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. הנרות הללו אנו מדליקים, הנרות הללו אנו מדליקים על הניסים ועל הנפלאות ועל הנפלאות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו, שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם, בימים ההם, בימים ההם, בזמן הזה.
I suggest that
What
we
happened to
go
Mao
inside.
Sur?
I don't want to sing Mao Sur. I will
Okay.
tell you why. Because we are having a special lecture for the Friends of the Hebrew University on the song Mao Sur.
Okay.
But
How about another song? Can you teach me another song for my students?
I can teach you 2 songs for your students.
Oh, yeah, please.
And
Okay.
we can talk a little bit about that. I just wanted to say that it's so beautiful to light the Hanukkah lights, the Hanukkah candles, just in front of the Hebrew University of our campus, beautiful campus, which is always the background to all our celebrations. Also in Sukkot, we can see from the window of our sukkah the university. So I'm always
It's there in the
connected.
purple, right?
It's in the purple, and I can see my office from here, which that means that I'm working all the time, but never mind. Let's go. So you know, one of the most important things about the music for Hanukkah is that Hanukkah became such a special occasion. You can sit next to this. Yeah. And in Israel, it was one of those holidays that received particular emphasis because it was connected, of course, with the redemption of Israel, a victory of liberation, which certainly connect very much with the ethos of Zionism. And the composers of songs dedicated special effort in composing new songs for children. And the children's celebrations in the kindergartens in Israel are certainly one of the most beautiful memories that any Israeli child has when they grow up. And they grow up with the songs. So the songs that once were children's songs now are the songs for everybody. So we have two songs here, and I am teaching this from the book of songs that is used in most schools today in Israel. The first song is Banu Choshech Legaresh. We came to expel the darkness, okay? Beyadeinu or ba'esh, in our hands we have light and fire. And this song is composed by Sara Levitanai, who was, you remember, a Yemenite, a Jew who came to Israel, and she grew here, and she became one of the most important, not only composers and the founder of the Imbal dance troupe, the dance troupe, but she also was a ganenet, a kindergarten teacher, and she composed this for her own students, her own little children. And the song, when you hear the music, you can see that she is attempting to write a song that expresses like a new musical language, which is a language that tries to avoid European music. So the song, first of all, is set up in a easy level for the kids to sing. That is, there are very few notes, and it's very repetitive. And it goes like this. Banu choshech legaresh Beyadeinu or ba'esh. You want to sing it? Sure. Okay. Banu choshech legaresh Beyadeinu or ba'esh Kol echad or katan ve'kulanu or eitan Surat choshech Anashur Surah Mipnei Haor. Okay, again. Surah Choshech. Surah Choshech Anashur Surah Mipnei Haor. And you know what she told the kids when they say Surah Choshech, go away, darkness, you have to make with your feet on the floor very strong. So all the Israeli kids know Surah Choshech Al-Ashhor Surah Mipnei Haor. So that's the one song, a little bit oriental, I would say, or at least trying to avoid Western music. On the other hand, the second song is a true and true Ashkenazi traditional melody, but the text was set up by Chaim Nachman Bialik, the probably or arguably the greatest modern Hebrew poet. And Bialik knew a lot about Jewish folklore, and therefore he composed the text for these songs in the spirit of a folk song. This song is in that spirit. It's called My Father Light the Candle Handles. And then it has a refrain, and you know, in honor of what? In honor of what? In honor of Hanukkah. And the song goes in the different stanzas from the father to the uncle to the mother, and each member of the family has something to offer for Hanukkah. The uncle has the dreidel, the sevivon, the dreidel, and mom, what does she have? Latkes. Okay, so you have latkes, and you have the dreidel, and you have the candle for Hanukkah. And the song is very beautiful, and we can sing it. You think the kids will like these songs?
Well, what was it? There was this part here that. Can we get bam bam ba-dam, ba-bam, bam, ba-da-dam,
You're a real musician. I'm only a musicologist, so I'm a schlep. You know, I improvise. But you are really, how the Americans say, you are right on the money. So just these two songs are just examples of many other songs that were set up to new melodies or to melodies borrowed from the different Jewish traditions. Anyway, also in America, and this is important, there was a rich repertoire of Hanukkah songs in Hebrew. And it's something important to remember that in the 20s and 30s, there was a Hebrew movement in America, and there were songs produced by American Jewish composers for the Jewish schools. But all of that remains now in our archive for researchers like me to investigate, because most of those old Hebrew songs were forgotten in America too. So I hope that next year, we usually say the Shana Haba Yerushalayim, but we are here in Yerushalayim. So I will say next year in LA. And LA in December is the best place to be in the world. I can tell that from my own experience as at least as a visiting citizen of the City of Angels. So I wish you Hanukkah Sameach, all the best, and certainly thank you all for all what you do for the Hebrew University. Chag Sameach.
Hanukkah Sameach.
Hanukkah Sameach. And thank you, Marlena.
בבקשה, בשמחה.
Special thanks to Professor Sarusi and Cantor Firstman. Good evening. My name is Sherry Coffer, and I'm the Executive Director of AFHU here in the Western region. I want to thank everybody who participated in tonight's program. Our Western Region President, Mark Janender, Renee Jacobs-Anson, Barbara Lazaroff, especially, thank you so much, Ron Nessim, and last but certainly not least, Chef Byron Lazaroff Puck. It was an absolutely incredible demonstration by the chef, And I really hope that you enjoyed the evening tonight. We wanted to bring you some joy for Hanukkah and to celebrate together, and wish you continued good health, and may your home be filled with light and warmth. And please keep safe, and we look forward to being in person together real soon. And we miss you all and look forward to you participating in our future events. Have a good evening and good night.
Thank you, Hanukkah Sameach, dear, to everyone.
Happy Hanukkah to everybody. Good night.